Hello everybody, Gareth here, sportsintelligence.com. So what is intelligence anyway in a sporting context? Well, John Torrey, a US baseball expert, said that competing at the highest level is not about winning, it's about preparation, courage, understanding and nurturing your people and your heart. Winning is the outcome, winning is the result. And when I work with my athletes, I no longer talk about winning. It's really sticking to your process, applying what you've learned in the heat of the battle, in the moment. And sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. As long as we keep going and as long as the arrow keeps going in the right direction. So before we delve into what sports intelligence is in detail, let's have a basic understanding of what intelligence is. People think intelligence is all about EQ, and to some extent it is, but that definition was coined by a dude by the name of Alfred Binet, Binet, a French guy in the late 19th century, and we're still using it to promote people, to appoint people, to allocate resources. It's kind of strange, but it has withstood the test of time. But his theory of intelligence consisted of a complex of different abilities, and those depended on a variety of higher order psychological skills such as attention, memory, imagination, common sense, judgment, and abstraction. It also involved coping successfully in the world and having the ability to manage and to deal with everyday problems. A researcher, a later guy by the name of Charles Spearman, he came up with his kind of intelligence, which he called Factor G. Not G for Gareth, but Factor G for general intelligence. And he identified 7 independent mental abilities: verbal comprehension, verbal fluency, number agility, spatial visualization, inductive reasoning, memory again, and perceptual speed. Now, 7 kinds of intelligences sounds like quite a lot in one model, but there's more. An academic by the name of J.P. Guilford came up with a multi-factor 3-dimensional model which yielded a total of 120 possible intellectual factors, which he later revised to include 180 types. That means that one is left with anything from a single factor G, for that matter, to a choice of 120 different intelligences. I must tell you that back then, in the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, none of them included any reference to sport. This only started in the 1980s, the late 1980s, when an American by the name of Howard Gardner started talking about multiple intelligences. And he collaborated and worked with another American academic on his theory of successful intelligence. And in the 90s, emotional intelligence entered our orbit. And so we started combining these in our understanding of one's intelligence. So what do we know? In broad terms, intelligence is a property that an individual has as they interact with their environment. Number 2, it's related to an individual's abilities to succeed with respect to a particular goal or object. And number 3 is dependent on how they are able to adapt to different goals and environments. So what that means is that we can act and behave in goal-directed ways in order for us to achieve what we are hoping for. In the next session, we're going to talk about what this means for our definition of sports intelligence and how you can apply it to optimize your performance.